Random House Audio presents The Myth of You and Me by Leah Stewart. Read for you by Alissa Hunnicutt. And I'm left to wonder, what is this place? This room, this house, this life, accountable to no one but myself. A. Manette Ansay, Sister. What if you'd never met me? Sonia says. What would your life be like? Sonia's been my best friend for only a few months, but already, life without her is difficult to imagine. Boring, I say. We are lying on her 4-poster bed, staring up at the pink canopy. We are 14. If you hadn't been standing in the right place in the parking lot, she says, we might never have spoken. We have 3 classes together, I say. If you hadn't come into the gym that day, we might never have become friends. Maybe we were destined to be friends, I say. She waves her hand, dismissing this. Every decision we make affects the rest of our lives. Yeah, I say. For example, what if you had to choose between being my best friend forever and having the boy of your dreams? I can't have both? No. Why not? That's the game. Maybe you'd marry his brother and live next door. She shakes her head. You have to choose. 8 years from now, I'll abandon Sonia. I'll drive away from a gas station in Texas, my eyes on the rearview mirror, where I'll see her running after my car, a shocked expression on her face. Here in Sonia's bedroom, it's all still there before us, every decision between that moment and this. Sonia rolls over onto her elbows so she can look me in the face. Choose, she demands. Choose. In February of my 30th year, a letter came to the house where I was living, addressed to me in my own handwriting. I didn't notice it when it arrived. I just dropped the mail stack on the kitchen table as usual and went to make bologna and cheese sandwiches, favorite lunch of my employer, the historian Oliver Doucet. Oliver liked to declare that all times exist simultaneously, and when he did, I'd say teasing that he thought that only because all our days were exactly the same. I'd been living with him in Oxford, Mississippi for nearly 3 years, and I'd long since adapted to his schedule. We had an early lunch and dinner, and Oliver went to bed before 9. Most nights I stayed up with the television or a book, even though he exhorted me to go out. What he didn't know was that every so often I crept into his bedroom to make sure he was still breathing. In the mornings I was always relieved to find him drinking coffee at the kitchen table, wearing the ridiculous velvet robe his daughter Ruth had given him. Oliver was 92 to my 29. He was the one who liked to say that this was my 30th year. Standing at the kitchen counter, I had a view out the window of Oliver's lush flower garden. I felt pleased about the brightness in the room, as if my own happiness were the source of the light. There was no particular reason for me to be so happy. I was just grateful for my ordinary life. Cameron, my dear, Oliver said. I jumped and turned to see him standing behind me in the kitchen. He looked as though he'd been watching me for some time. Happy Valentine's Day, I smiled at him. Is it? He said. I had forgotten. He eased into his usual chair, pulled a comb from his shirt pocket, and held it out for me to take. Oliver was vain about his wisps of white hair, which he insisted be slicked back in an approximation of the pompadour he had worn in his youth. He could have combed it himself, but he liked for me to do it. Oliver inspected his hair with approval as I held a mirror. He grabbed my free hand and pressed it to his cheek. Ah, youth, he said. Am I not handsome? You're terribly handsome, I said. The most handsome of all your beaux. Of course. I kissed him on the forehead. In that case, he said, and slipped a ring onto the 3rd finger of my left hand. Happy Valentine's Day. He laughed at my surprise. The ring was beautiful. Gold, obviously antique, set with 5 small opals. Oliver, I started, but he cut me off. It belonged to my aunt, he said. Now we're engaged. Call off your other beaux. I love it, I said. Thank you. You've been good to me. He held my gaze, his expression serious. He was rarely this earnest, and I felt a flush of gratitude mingled with embarrassment. Before I could speak again, he waved me away. Don't get spoiled, he said. Finish that lunch. I went back to the counter and stood there looking down at my hand, admiring the way the sunlight caught the opals in the ring. Behind me, Oliver was opening the mail. He said, This is interesting. What? This is addressed to you, he said, in your handwriting. You seem to have written yourself a letter. That's odd. I crossed to the table and reached for the envelope. He was right. There were my name and his address on the front in my own script. The return address had no name, just a street and an apartment number in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Why would you write yourself a letter? Oliver asked. I don't think I did. This is delightful, he said. You have a secret identity. Maybe you're another person. I rolled my eyes, but it did give me a strange feeling to see my own name in my own handwriting like that, as though somewhere out there was indeed another me. Sit down, Oliver said. For God's sake, open it. I sat down. I opened it. Of course, I hadn't written the letter, but I felt no less strange when I saw who had. The letter was from Sonia Gray. In high school, we practiced until our handwriting was so similar, even we couldn't tell it apart. This made it easy for us to sometimes leave our names off our math tests, so that I could claim hers and she mine, because my math grade could survive the occasional 50. Because I couldn't imagine why Sonia was writing to me after nearly 8 years, it did seem to me that all times existed at once, that she'd mailed the letter from someplace years ago. Well? Oliver asked. I ignored him, holding the letter away from his curious gaze. Dear Cameron, I had a dream about you tonight, and now I can't sleep. I've been thinking about you ever since I got engaged. My first impulse afterward was to call you. Isn't that odd? It was like I was a kid again, and we were planning our imaginary weddings back when I was certain you'd be my maid of honor and I'd be yours. It took me a moment to remember we weren't friends anymore. Ever since, I keep having this feeling I'm forgetting to do something. I look at my list, I've called the caterer and talked to the florist, and it takes me a while to realize, because it's not on the list, that the only thing I haven't done is talk to you. I have that middle-of-the-night strangeness, when it feels like you've fallen out of your normal life, and maybe that's why I'm writing to you now, as if we were friends like we used to be. Somewhere somebody's playing Madonna, her first album, I think it is. You and I used to make up dance routines to Madonna songs. Remember the playroom at my house? All those stuffed animals loved Into Ruin. You and I dancing in the middle, doing what we thought were sexy moves. Don't you think that's symbolic? Loved Into Ruin. I just invented that phrase. I like it. On occasion, I felt like that's what's happened to me. Remember when we were walking across campus to take a final exam and a bird fell dead at our feet? It was a cardinal, a red splash. It was truly dead. We were juniors in college, but we held hands the rest of the way. We were that unnerved. Remember when we drove up to Sewanee to see that boy I was dating? I can't even remember his name now, and the three of us went skinny dipping in the reservoir. It was so black, and the stars were everywhere, and you and I floated away on our backs, and you said that floating there and looking up at the sky was like not existing in the best possible way. I said we should make up a myth about two maidens and the water, but we never did. I guess it's a myth now, anyway. Maybe that's the point of this letter. Is it a myth?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?